How quickly this time goes by. Okay, making sure this works. Great. On tonight's Pack Show, we take a deep dive into trip and travel insurance with our guest Dan. We'll be answering your questions on what to buy and what not to buy, and if you even need it. Shelly will be covering the hot subjects, the top 5 touchy cruise topics, and legitimate complaints on how to avoid being disappointed as a new cruiser. Our photo of the week comes from the Jacksonville Carnival Cruisers group, and an update on our upcoming cruises, and where we sit in the voting for the live streaming. This is CruiseWeek.tv. Hey everyone, I am Matt, and I am still classified as a newbie cruiser with only 2 cruises to date. However, in doing the show and talking to all of our many guests, I have learned so much, and I think I can definitely avoid a lot of the newbie issues. This week we will tackle travel insurance. It's the one thing that you don't really know how well it works till you actually need it. Our guest today will be explaining all the different things about a good travel package can cover, and what you should and shouldn't get depending on your trip and what to avoid. But before that, I want to tell you about some exciting news with Good Memories Travel. Who wants a free $500 credit for your next cruise? We're going on the brand new Carnival Horizon and inviting you all to come along. The date is February 23rd of 2019, and if you book through Good Memories Travel, you'll be entered into the Cruise Week drawing to win $500 credit. Not only that, but you'll get to come with Joe, myself, and Bird on our live streaming cruise. We're visiting Grand Turk, San Juan, St. Kitts, and St. Martin. So call Good Memories Travel to book and enter to win the $500 cash drawing. But whatever your cruise you are planning to be on, if you want to save money, give them a call. You get the same great rates as booking yourself, plus you may get onboard credit or a customer reward. Yes, they actually give you money to go cruise with. They enjoy planning and helping with weddings and honeymoons. They are fully licensed by the CLIA, which stands for Cruise Lines International Association, and they have also been earmarked by Disney. Good Memory Travel also specializes in handling every aspect of your group cruise, family getaway, or that family reunion you've been wanting to plan. Imagine letting someone else do all the work while you get to relax. Debbie can work directly with you in the cruise line to organize onboard parties, events, and the wedding service, which is one less thing you have to worry about. Debbie can also take card points, so if you have, let's say, an American Express reward card, you can use the points to pay for your next cruise. Good Memories Travel also plans various Christian-related group cruises. Their God is Good group cruise is coming up, so be sure to check that out on their website. They handle, of course, cruises for all cruise lines like Carnival, Royal, MSC, Norwegian, and more all over the world. Debbie Smith is part of the cruise planners, so give her a call to see what they can do for you. It doesn't cost you a thing to look them up and get your best rate. Call Debbie for a free, no-obligation quote on your next cruise. What do you have to lose? Debbie can be reached at 321-338-2953, and of course through the website at goodmemoriestravel.com. And let them know you heard about them on CruiseWeek.tv. Travel insurance. Let's take a quick poll in the live comments. If you always buy travel or trip insurance, put a 1 in the chat. If you sometimes buy it, put a 2. And if you never bother with it, put a 0. I want to see what people generally do. I have not gotten travel insurance myself yet, so I would put a big 0 there. What do you guys? Put it in the chat below. Well, today we are going to talk with Dan from Allianz all about the good, the bad, and the ugly of travel insurance. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's great to have you on. So tell us a little bit about you first before we jump into some of the questions.
Sure. Well, I'm the Director of Communications at Allianz Global Assistance, and we are primarily a travel insurance company, and our headquarters is in Richmond, Virginia. So I've been with the company for about 8 years, and I feel like I know a fair amount of about travel insurance from those 8 years. So I'm happy to be on and happy to answer questions.
Wonderful. So actually, a couple of questions come from my parents. My parents have been on a cruise before in their past, and they don't really get travel insurance. But my mom is sick sometimes, so my dad's kind of interested in travel insurance rates now because they are getting older. And usually it seems that a lot of older demographic are the ones that normally get trip insurance. So,
Sure.
what my dad asks is, he knows that some credit card companies can offer travel insurance. I looked some up really quickly, and apparently the Chase Sapphire card offers up to $10,000 of reimbursement per trip for prepaid, non-refundable travel expenses, including like flights, tours, hotels. If the flight's delayed for 12 hours and requires overnight stay, they'll help with meals and lodging up to $500 per tickets. What's the benefits of looking with like card companies doing that versus actual travel insurance?
So that's a great question that your dad is asking, and there are differences. So every credit card has some slight differences. You want to read your credit card information that comes with the credit card so you understand what all the benefits are. But typically the difference is that credit cards will cover you for cancellation up to a certain amount, like $10,000, as you just mentioned, but they won't pay for things like emergency medical care and
Hmm.
emergency evacuation. And those are the things that can be most expensive if you
Hmm.
run into a problem while you're on your trip.
Very, very true. What would you recommend for people for getting travel insurance? Because I know a lot of rates can vary depending on, I think, age. Does health kind of play a role into that as well? Or what are some of the variations of how you kind of come up with the insurance rates?
Sure. Well, that's a good question. And travel insurance pricing is based on two things. One, the cost of your trip, and also your age. So the more expensive your trip and the older you are, the more you're going to pay for travel insurance. If you're a young guy like you, you're going to pay less, which is good news for you. So
Hmm.
that's kind of how pricing works. Now, there's also different levels of products. So if you were to go to our website, allianztravelinsurance.com, you'd find three different products that are among our core retail products. So it's kind of a good, better, best strategy. So you could buy a low-cost product and save some money, or if you want to make sure you're fully covered, you could buy a higher-cost product and get more coverage. So with insurance, one thing people don't understand a lot is that you get what you pay for.
Hmm.
So if you want to save money, you're gonna to get probably fewer benefits and lower benefits, and those lower benefits might be lower levels of coverage for medical emergencies and medical transportation. So you'll save some money, but your coverage will be lower. And then if you want to be fully protected, you'll pay a little more.
Hmm. What do you think is the most or the minimum amount of insurance you should get? For example, I don't know the exact details of some insurance, but what do you think is like the bare minimum you should get for insurance?
Okay, so travel insurance covers a couple different things. One is cancellation. So you want to be able to cover the full cost of your non-refundable deposits if you have to cancel a trip. And if in the case of cruising, that could be a couple different things. It could be your airfare, it could be the cost of your cruise, and it could be some tours that you've booked while you're in port. So travel insurance will cover you if you get sick or injured or a lot of other things. So you want to make sure that all your non-refundable deposits are covered. The other thing is you want to make sure that you're comfortable with the level of medical coverage that you have, and you want to make sure that you're comfortable with the level of evacuation coverage that you
Hmm.
have. So, and that really depends on possibly your health situation. So if you're a young guy, healthy guy like yourself, you might be okay with a lower level of health coverage. But for the evacuation, the farther away you are from the US, the more evacuation coverage you want to have, because those flights in air ambulances are very expensive. Um, I have a friend of mine that was just evacuated from Panama. He had a collapsed lung. The flight was $20,000. The hospital bill was $10,000. We paid all of it, but he had
That's
enough coverage to
incredible.
cover it. And you know, you want to make sure that you do the same.
Hmm. I mean, a lot of people, it seems that, they're not really sure if insurance is worth it until it's too late. Are there any, so we actually have a huge amount of comments coming into and a lot of questions coming into. So before I kind of go on my little spiel, let's answer some of those questions. Marilyn
Okay.
Abbott on Facebook says, is it worth it? You have to have documentation why you can't go, and I've heard it's almost always refused. I'm assuming that's for cancellation, right?
So yeah, there are a number of reasons that you can cancel your trip. There could be health reasons, there could be work reasons, there could be legal reasons, there could be natural disasters. It's a fairly comprehensive list, but travel insurance doesn't cover everything. So you really want to read your policy to make sure that what you understand is covered, and you want to call your provider if you have any questions.
Hmm.
So she's not right. I think it's fairly straightforward on making a claim. And with our company, you can make a claim using our award-winning Travel Smart app. You can make a claim using your smartphone, your tablet, or your computer. And if it's a medical claim, we do need your doctor to fill out a form that says,
Hmm.
yeah, you were really sick or injured and you couldn't go on your trip. It's pretty straightforward. And the reason we do that is to make sure that you were sick or injured enough that you needed to cancel your trip and your doctor agreed. And the reason that we make sure that claims are valid is this helps keep down the cost of travel insurance for everyone. So if we just pay claims that are valid, then we can keep those costs down and make it very affordable for everyone.
Nice. Barbara Pepper asks, my husband had a heart attack 2.5 years ago. Can he still get insurance? And I'm gonna kind of bridge off that answer. Is his insurance gonna go up higher due to some previous medical issues in the past?
So there's a big difference in travel insurance in the US versus travel insurance in Europe.
Hmm.
And it's a good question because in Europe, you have to fill out a health history form, and then your insurance is based on that. That's not the case in the US. In the US, you just sign up for it. Usually it takes about 2 minutes to do so, and you're insured. So
Hmm.
her husband's heart attack would not play into whether he could get insurance or not. But there is another piece of information that perhaps you're going to ask later about existing medical conditions, and there is some information that I can give you about that.
Okay. Can you go in a little bit more detail about some of the existing medical conditions? Because I know
Sure.
in a couple different guests in the past, we've had the special need cruisers group kind of recently join us. And as you know, some of them might have some more demands or some more needs that might not be covered by some of that. So, what are you able to cover, and what might be like additional expenses?
Okay, so it's very easy to get covered for existing medical conditions, and it's very valuable to get covered for existing medical conditions. If you have an existing medical condition, a close family member does, or a traveling companion, you want to make sure you get the coverage for that existing medical condition. It doesn't cost any more to do it, but there are certain conditions that you need to meet. So those conditions are typically you purchase your insurance within 14 days of making your initial trip deposit. That's
Hmm.
one. The other one is that you are medically able to travel on the day that you purchase your policy. And the last one is that your trip is $10,000 or less. So it doesn't cost you anything extra to get that coverage, which is extremely valuable. You just need to make sure that you meet those conditions.
Okay. Candy Dupree on Facebook asks, what's a good amount of insurance for a person with known health issues? She says that my mother's issue is heart problems and diabetes.
So I would say our classic plan, which you can find on AllianzTravelInsurance.com, is a good example of a standard plan that gives you plenty of coverage. It will ensure your full non-refundable trip costs, as well as cover you for $25,000 in emergency medical costs and $500,000 in emergency medical evacuation. And again, those evacuations can be very expensive depending on where
Hmm.
you are. So if I was traveling outside the country, going on a cruise, that's sort of the level of coverage that I would look for.
Do you have family rates or discounts for family members? I know a lot of people in some of our groups and that follow us are, mothers, parents, they have kids. How would you insure like your kids? Can you do like a bundle package pretty much?
So there's not a bundle package. Everyone needs to have an insurance policy, but on the classic policy that I just mentioned, kids 17 and under are free.
Okay.
So if you have kids that are minors, you can go ahead and insure them, and there'll be no additional cost as long as they're traveling with a parent or a grandparent.
Nice. That's probably going to save a lot of people a bunch of stress and haggle as well, because I know a lot of people have kids and everything else. And kids are usually accident prone. I know when I was a kid, I was accident prone. I mean, even now, still accident prone, but now my accidents are
Oh
more
no,
alcohol related versus anything of that. With some of the
that's
insurance,
terrible.
with some of the insurance rates, what will stop the insurance from happening? For example, I've seen some people on cruises get really, really drunk and they might injure themselves. Will it cover alcohol induced injuries or drug related injuries, or what's going to stop people from getting that insurance?
Sure. Well, you'll have the insurance, but you could get your claim denied if your incident was caused by excessive drinking, by illegal drugs, by illegal activity, or
Hmm.
by, in some policies, what's called extreme activities. So usually jumping out of an airplane won't be covered, that sort of thing. So you want to read your policy and find out what those exclusions are because it's important. I don't suggest anyone get really drunk on a cruise because you're on a boat and
Hmm.
you don't want to fall overboard. But those are the types of things that might make your claim denied.
Okay. That's definitely good to know for next time we get travel insurance. Definitely good to know. Travel insurance, drink card, the responsibilities of being an adult.
Yeah.
Michelle LeMason asks, is it too late to get travel insurance if your trip's already paid for?
No, it's not too late. You can purchase travel insurance up to the day before you leave on your trip. So you can do that. You can't buy it after you've departed. But one thing that I want to mention is that the smart thing to do is to purchase travel insurance when you book your trip because it gives you a longer period of coverage. So if you booked your trip a month ago and something had happened to you during that time and you hadn't yet bought your insurance, you wouldn't be covered. So why would you wait? You want to buy the insurance when you book your trip so that you'll be covered from that minute on until when you depart on your trip.
Hmm. That's really smart to do that. Do the rates lower, or are they all the same if you have like book it from several months out versus 2 days before the trip? Is it about the same rate usually, or does the rate change?
Nope. The rate is exactly the same, and that's another reason to buy it when you book your
Hmm.
trip because you're getting all that extra coverage and you're not paying anything additional for it.
Definitely a wise investment then. Let's see. Oh, I'm gonna have trouble pronouncing this name. Jules Migloranzoni, I think I nailed it, on Facebook says, how do you fill out doctor forms? Some doctors don't want to fill them out. I've heard if you fill them out the form and then the doctor signs it, should my doctor be filling out these forms or how does that work in general?
Yeah, so I think most doctors are used to filling out insurance forms for their patients, and it's not just us, but it's other insurance companies that will make them provide documentation. So it's a very simple form that can be faxed or emailed to a doctor, and usually someone in their office, a nurse or someone who works at the front desk, will fill that out, and they'll just sign it. So it's a pretty straightforward thing, and I think doctors are pretty used to filling out forms like
Hmm.
that. um, if my doctor didn't want to fill out a form like that, I probably wouldn't be going to that doctor.
That's pretty wise advice there. I was just thinking the same thing. Like if my doctor's not going to fill out these forms, there's something a bit weird going on there at the office.
Yeah,
Candy Dupree says, what happens if the minor has a known disability? I'm assuming she's jumping back to the 17-year-old or less are usually free. But if a
sure.
17-year-old or younger has a disability that's known, are they no longer eligible?
No, there's nothing like that. Back to the existing medical condition rule. So what we do is we look back within 120 days of before you purchase the policy. So if you were treated for something, had some symptoms of something within that period, we'll consider that an existing medical condition. But as long as you got that waiver, you met those conditions and you got that waiver, it doesn't matter. So again, a really important thing to have, especially if you're traveling with someone who has health issues.
Okay. So now that we've talked a lot about health issues, health insurance, and the different properties of health in general, let's go to bag loss, wallets, everything of that nature, things that are most likely to go wrong. Health, you kind of know if you're going to get sick beforehand, if you have pre-existing conditions, or you're hoping you don't get sick. but anyone is susceptible to losing a bag or getting their wallet stolen. So if
Sure.
you're at an airport and you're not on the cruise yet, but you're in transition from, going from traveling or something of that nature, and you lose your wallet or your bag, is that covered or does it have to take place at the cruise area?
No, as long as your baggage is with a common carrier, and we consider common carriers to be airlines or cruise lines or even trains or buses, as long as your luggage is in their custody, if they lose it, it gets stolen. Even if it gets delayed, we will compensate you. You just need to make sure that you file all the paperwork with that common carrier. If your baggage is stolen, you should also file a police report so that you can
Hmm.
provide all that documentation to us. If your wallet's stolen, similarly, we will cover that as well up to the limit of your policy, as long as you're on your trip.
Are you able to piggyback with your credit card insurance for traveling versus a travel insurance? Can you claim both, or are you only allowed to claim one? For
So
example,
if you were to claim your loss on both, most people would consider that insurance fraud
okay.
because you would be setting yourself up to get paid twice for the same loss. So you
Hmm.
really couldn't do that. What you could do is you could take a look at your credit card and see what they might cover and have them cover that, and then have your travel insurance policy cover whatever they didn't cover.
Okay, good, good. This is all really important stuff for me. I'm 22, almost 23. I'm getting there, but I still don't have that, worldly knowledge. I'm still kind of getting up there, and I don't know a lot about this. So I'm really, appreciating this. It's kind of like nice conversation that I should probably know before I get up there in age and have my own kids and get to tell them the same thing. It's
Sure.
wise advice. And I'm looking at some of the comments on Facebook, and everyone is loving this information. They're all saying great comments, and they're really appreciative of all of your comments and the knowledge that you're sharing with them. So, really thank you so much for being here.
Sure, my pleasure. And really, there's a couple things I want to make sure people know. Travel insurance covers primarily cancellation. That's the reason that people buy it.
Hmm.
The number one reason. So and cruises can be an expensive investment, as I'm sure you
Yes.
know. So you want to make sure that investment is insured, just like you would insure an investment in a car or a house or
Hmm.
something else. And then the medical piece of it, those costs can be really, really high, especially if you have to be evacuated from someplace. You don't want to be stuck with a 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or $50,000 air ambulance bill. You want to make sure you cover that. I
Hmm.
would never leave the country without travel insurance. And before we go, at the very end, I will give everyone who's watching a good tip and
Oh, we still
secret on
got
how to.
tons of other questions coming. Don't worry.
All right. Remind me before we go, and I'll give everyone that
Hmm.
secret on how to save
Okay,
money.
definitely, definitely. We'll come back to that secret later on. So, what are the top three reasons for buying cruise insurance?
So the number one reason, so for especially for people going on a cruise, cancellation, as I mentioned, so
Hmm.
could be a big investment, especially if you're traveling with a group. The second reason is travel delay or missed connection. So if you miss your connection, and a lot of people don't, I'll tell you that a lot of people don't give themselves enough time to get to their cruise. You should also always get to the port the day before your cruise. So you just can't always count on the airlines to get you there. But if that should happen, if you missed your connection, travel insurance will pay to get you to the next port to catch up with your ship, and that's a great benefit. And then
Hmm.
the last thing is, as we mentioned, is the medical piece. So top three things: cancellation, travel delay or misconnection, and medical coverage.
Ooh, Kevin Lauber on Facebook asks, are there any deductibles for some of the evacs?
No, there are no deductibles for travel insurance.
That's even better. That's even another reason why to get it then. That's really good to
Absolutely.
know. So I'm, young. I would consider myself pretty healthy type of guy. Why should I get it? I know, I don't have pre-existing conditions. I'm relatively healthy. I barely get sick. What's the purpose of me getting it? I mean, I'm not that likely of getting, injured or sick on a ship. What's the point? And I know a lot of other people my age are probably thinking the very exact same thing.
Well, Matt, you can't always think about yourself. You have to think about others. So what if you had booked your cruise and you're ready to go, and your mom or your dad got very sick and you didn't want to go on your cruise because you were concerned about them? So you would want to stay home and make sure that they were okay. Maybe it would be a grandparent or someone like that. You could cancel your cruise and get refunded for travel insurance. And the other thing is that you may not get sick, but it's not hard to get hurt being a young, active guy such as yourself. So, you could hurt yourself biking or doing something
Hmm.
else, and you wouldn't want to be hobbling around the cruise ship. So there are some good reasons to take out travel insurance, even if you're young and healthy.
Hmm. Definitely have to look at some of the different rates. I know Bird was trying to convince me to do it last time, and I think it was only about $35 per person for about my age demographic, which is pretty reasonable. And that covered like baggage being lost, or I think minor injuries, which is most likely the common causes, I would assume. What would you say like the most common use for travel insurance would be? Is it health issues, or do you think it's more baggage related?
It's really the cancellation, which really
Hmm.
comes into play most often. There are a number of reasons you can cancel your trip, and people run into these reasons all the time. So, really, cancellation is number one. And I hear stories all the time of people who booked a cruise, didn't buy the insurance, and then somebody in their family got very sick. The cruise lines won't give you your money back. If you're
Hmm.
really lucky, they may give you a partial credit to use later, but it would typically be very small. And they'll always tell you, sorry, you should have bought travel insurance to cover it.
That's a very good point. Jules asks, how would you compare your rates versus other insurance companies or other insurance rates?
So I think our rates are very competitive. You can certainly shop around and do your homework. I'll tell you the difference between our company and others is that Allianz is a 150-year-old insurance company. We were born in Germany 150 years ago, and we're one of the largest financial institutions in the world. We have over 100,000 employees. My company, Allianz Global Assistance, has 10,000 employees in 34 countries. So if you were to run into trouble almost anywhere in the world, it's a good chance that we would have somebody on the ground there that could help you. So you want to think a little bit about cost isn't always the main thing. I think you want to think about how financially secure is the company I'm buying my travel insurance from, what resources do they have available if I get sick or injured. We have a full-time medical staff. And we have medical directors. So if you land in the hospital, our medical team will call the hospital, speak to your doctor, make sure you're getting the best care available. And if you have to be evacuated, we will pay for and arrange that as well with pilots, an air ambulance, and a nurse on the plane. We also get people back on commercial flights with nurse escorts. We do that all the
Hmm.
time. We did 500 evacuations last year. So
Oh,
we're
wow.
doing one more than one a day. So I would think about the cost. Cost is important, but I would also think about the resources the company brings and their financial strength.
So if you're evacuated from the ship, what do you tell the doctors at a foreign hospital how you would pay for them exactly? Do you tell them I have
Yeah,
travel insurance or?
that's a really good question. And one thing that happens to people a lot when they are evacuated to a hospital off a cruise ship in a foreign port is that the facility will often ask them to pay for their care in advance. And
Hmm.
depending how sick you are, that could be a lot of money that you're scrambling to get. With travel insurance, you can tell them, I have Allianz travel insurance. You want to make sure that you call us to let us know what's going on with you. And the hospital will also call us, and we will guarantee the payment so that you don't have to pay out of pocket.
Okay, that's pretty smart. How long after your cruise or your trip will the insurance cover you for? Let's say you're in the hospital for, I don't know, a week, a month, even longer than that. How long will you guys cover till exactly?
So that's a good question, and there really is no date. It's more the amount of your coverage. So again, another reason to get adequate coverage. Your insurance will cover you up until the amount is reached, and then you're going to be on your own to pay for the rest. So a good reason to make sure you have sufficient coverage.
Hmm. Nice. So, one final question before we get to that secret of yours. Will
Yeah.
homeowners insurance or Medicare insurance cover me instead of getting travel insurance?
Well, Matt, you're much too young to get Medicare, so I don't think that that's going to matter to you for a long time. But homeowners insurance may provide some benefits, like for lost or stolen baggage. So you should read your policy and find out what it covers, and call your agent if you have questions. One thing about Medicare is that it does not work outside the United States. You will be paying for your care on your own. So if you're on Medicare, don't expect it to help you with your medical costs if you're outside the country.
Hmm. Interesting. So, let's get to that secret of yours you were talking about earlier.
Okay, so if you want to save money on travel insurance, this is a secret, Matt. Don't tell anybody because I'm going to get in trouble if they find out that I've told you this. So one thing that you can do is I told you that travel insurance is the price is based on a couple things. One, the cost of your trip, and two, your age. So when you go in onto our website, for example, allianztravelinsurance.com, if your trip is pretty much guaranteed, where you're sure that nothing can happen to you, maybe you're leaving very soon, or in my case, I went to Jamaica in March to give a speech. The Jamaican government paid for all my expenses to go out there. So I wasn't on the hook for the costs of the transportation, the
Hmm.
flight, et cetera. So what I did was I went on our website and I entered a zero trip cost because I wasn't worried about losing that investment because it wasn't my money. So
Hmm.
other people may be in a similar situation where they have a free trip or they're using points or something like that, and they're not worried about losing that money for whatever reason. So what you're left with is what we call post-departure benefits. So the travel delay, the baggage coverage, the medical that we talked about, you still have all that, but you put in a zero trip cost, and you'll save a lot of money on the price of your insurance. My policy to go to Jamaica was about $30. So I won't leave the country without travel insurance, but if I'm not worried about the investment in the expenses, then I'll put in a zero trip cost and I'll get a very inexpensive policy.
That's really good advice, especially on our channel when we give away a lot of different products and other different expenses where we kind of reduce their cruise. So that's really, really helpful and really relevant. But yeah, thank you so much, Shane, for coming on the show. I think this is probably the number one show that we asked so many questions. I've been bombarded with questions, so really great topic to talk about.
Thanks for having me, Matt. And folks can find out more. The URL's on the screen there, allianztravelinsurance.com. We have a lot of articles and FAQs and things like that. So go on there. There's also a phone number at the top of our website. You can call us and ask questions and get a quote and buy travel insurance if you're ready.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Shane. It was great having you on the show. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. See
Bye,
you
everybody.
later. So, who wants to win $100 cruise gift card? That's right, $100 cruise gift card. Is it you or one of you? So, who are we going? So, we are going to be giving back to all that have helped us before. If you go to the streamingawards.com/vote and vote a 3 for Cruise Week TV, we will enter you into our drawing for a $100 Royal or Carnival gift card. You can vote once per Gmail address. So if you have several Gmails, voting on them all will increase your chances of winning. The voting is open all week till this coming Friday. So you also have to vote for cruiseweek.tv. That's a pretty relevant point there. So while you're watching the show, go and vote and be entered to win. We will draw the winner on next week's show. So the photo of the week. Our photo of the week comes from Facebook group Jacksonville Carnival Cruisers. We picked this one from Scott Lara, pictured here, looking on the icebergs on the Carnival ship's bridge. How did he get up there and where is security? Remember, each week we pick a cruise-related news group to feature on our show. We then pick the best cruise photo from the group to feature. So, my co-host Shally has been on many, many Many cruises. I think she has probably heard a lot of complaints, both old and new. Worst complaint she told us was when she was on the Titanic, and we all know how the rest of that goes. Shelley, what are typical complaints that new cruisers may have, and how can they avoid having them? Oh, slight technical issues that we are having. Anyway, so when I was on my first cruise, one of the complaints I had was I didn't really know where to go too much. I kind of wandered around for a little bit. I know Carnival is really great about dragging you into a lot of different things, but I don't like that. I kind of like exploring for myself. I wish they almost had a map on the ship, which they do have a lot of them all over the area. Oh, technical difficulty found. Oh, let me finish the story and then we'll get right to Shally. So I wish they had more of maps and more integrations. It would have been great if they tell you about the cruise app first, which they might do that. I just probably was not a good finder and looking for it. Bird, what was the name of that cruise app? I can't recall it. It is the Oh my. Shelly, what's the name of that cruise app when we're on Carnival?
The Hub?
Yes, Carnival Cruise Hub. That app would have been so great to know about on my first cruise. It was really, really helpful with booking everything. Well, not booking, but reminding me what shows were coming up, as well as giving me a lot more details on them. The little pamphlets are great and wonderful, but I'm always going to have my phone on me, and I'm not always going to carry that pamphlet around. And just that little 10-minute or 30-minute reminder is a lifesaver for some of these shows. Anyway, Shally, we know about the Titanic and that sinking. That was a pretty bad complaint for you. What other common complaints do they have? Maybe a little bit newer ones.
Hold on a second, Matt. I had to prepare for this one. We've been having some technical difficulties, along with the fact that I was not on the Titanic. Okay, thank you. Bad joke. Bird is older than I am. Okay, so anyway. So I had to prepare tonight because we're going to talk about the touchy subjects. Okay, so running CCPPF for the last 5 years, there are certain subjects that come up that are bound to start an argument. People get riled up. Maybe how to avoid a situation on a cruise. Some things happen and you can't avoid it. My best advice would be to try to make the best of any situation that you're on. But anyway, it's not always rainbows and butterflies every single time you go on vacation, and some things come up. So these are like the situations that always call us to come out and say, hey, we have to monitor this thread because people are getting riled up. So we'll start with the doozy. The first thing that I hear a lot is that there's a man overboard. So I've not personally been on a ship when something like this has happened, but I can only imagine the somber vibe on the whole ship if someone were to go overboard during your cruise. New cruisers always ask, can this really happen? Can people just fall off the ship? And the answer to that is no. You can't just fall off the ship. Now, let's say you're a boisterous 9-year-old little boy and you're climbing on the rails. Your parents are nowhere to be found. Accidents happen because of shenanigans. There was a video that was circulating in the group a while back of a young boy that was hanging off the rails, and it was really scary to watch. My son would have one red booty if he ever did anything like that. But these usually tragic accidents, it's either going to be alcohol related or it's on purpose. I mean, that's the bottom line. The rails come up to here. You're 6 feet tall. You still can't fall over. It still comes up to your waist. So things like that happen. That's
with our last cruise, there was actually a man overboard call that happened, and it was very weird. This is actually on the first cruise, the Carnival Magic, I believe, that it happened, and it was very like, oh my gosh, this is our first cruise, and there's already a man overboard call. What's kind of going on here? I don't know. Thankfully, it was a prank call. However,
Oh,
that family was real upset at their kids who made the call. I remember that next port that we were at, we saw a family leave with all their luggage, and that would have been a real bad time. But I remember we were at sea for quite a lot longer, and they kind of were circling back and forth, and they sent out a couple boats until they found out that it was a prank by some children. So that's a very, very, very serious thing, and probably the biggest no-no you can do on a cruise is a thank man overboard call.
right. And thank goodness it was a fake call.
Hmm.
But, in all reality, in the past several years that I've been running the group, this has happened several times. And we've had to take a certain stance because, unfortunately, people on the internet can be very cold and cruel and
Hmm.
say things behind a keyboard that they wouldn't say to people otherwise. And um, with 122,000 members, there's a chance that that mom or that brother or that husband or that wife might be in the group. And we just can't tolerate people
Hmm.
making really ugly comments about stuff like that. But um, I don't know how to handle something like that on a cruise other than I would try to make the best of it that I can, but I can only imagine the whole feel of the
Hmm.
ship knowing that something like that happened to somebody. So whether it was on purpose, when I say that, of course I mean like a suicide
Hmm.
attempt, or you know being successful, or drunken shenanigans, crawling on things you shouldn't crawl on, hanging over rails you shouldn't hang over. If you're just a normal activity on the ship, that's not going to happen. But don't be stupid. Don't do a prank. If you're a teenager, don't do something you think is cool or funny and hang off, because um, people that had no intentions of dying on their cruise have died because of such things. And
Hmm.
parents, keep control of your children. If you feel they're old enough for certain responsibilities, that's every parent's prerogative. But if you've got a kid that deep down in your heart is pretty rambunctious and might do something silly, you need to keep a leash on that child and make sure that they don't do anything stupid. You don't
Hmm.
want your vacation to turn into a
Exactly,
funeral.
exactly.
So, parents,
Anyway, let's
we could
transition
go
to the
on for
next
that
one.
forever. Okay, so the next this could go on. You're going to have to move us along on every topic because
I will
you
try.
could talk about this. So the next topic, of course, that comes up a lot is smoking.
Hmm.
So you have smokers, you got non-smokers. It's a duel till the end of time. The non-smokers don't want the people to be able to smoke. The smokers feel like they don't have enough space to smoke. So if you're going on a cruise, if you have a problem with smokers, be aware that the casino is traditionally a place where people can smoke. Um, Usually right above the Lido deck, there is a designated area for smoking. Uh, I quit smoking a long time ago, but a lot of my friends still smoke, and I want to hang out with them. So there's a up on the Lido deck where you can smoke. We call it the Situation Room, where where we go and have drinks, and they can smoke their cigarettes. Um, most recently within the past year or so, Carnival implemented a new ban on smoking in your balcony.
Hmm.
um a lot of smokers would book a balcony on purpose for that very reason, so they could go outside and have a cigarette. It's outside, hopefully it doesn't
Hmm.
bother other people. But they put a ban on that, and if you smoke and you're caught, what could happen is a $250 cleaning fee.
Ooh.
I mean, they could be really ugly about it and make you leave the cruise ship, but normally it's just the cleaning fee.
Hmm.
But if you're not a smoker and you don't like to be around smoke, avoid the areas that have it. I mean, they have rights just like we have rights, and if they choose to smoke, that's their
Hmm.
option to do so. And there's only a couple of places on the ship that they're allowed to smoke. So we have to live to coincide with each other on the ship, and or coexist.
So with smoking, does that also include vaping? Because I know that's kind of hand in hand, and a lot of people might vape instead now. Vaping is, for those who don't know, it's like a miniature electronic box that usually is a water vapor mixed with nicotine and some other kind of flavor added to it. Where it can smell like Red Bull or some other weird flavors.
Yeah, you can get like peach and strawberry and everything. But basically, the rules apply to whether you're a smoker or a vapor. You're going to have to go to the smoking area because, unfortunately, people, when you're using your vapor device, people don't know the difference between that and whether you're smoking. They just see the smoke drifting around. So even though there's no smell, there's no anything like that, they still require you to vape in the smoking areas.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha. Okay,
just
that clarifies it.
yeah, I mean, that's an argument this is going to go on forever.
Hmm.
People are going to smoke and people are going to be non-smokers that don't like people that smoke. So what can you do? But I mean, there's only a few places that they can go. So the next really touchy subject that comes up a lot is tipping. Okay. So a new cruiser might not be aware of the standard protocol when you go on a cruise. There's going to be an automatic gratuity added to your sign and sail card, which is your account. You can remove your tips. It's up to the guest discretion, but I would highly recommend not doing that. This subject comes up all the time in the group, and yes, it is an option to not pay your gratuities. But let me tell you, I've never seen harder working people from sunup to sundown. They have contracts that they have on these cruise ships. It's not like they get a day off. I mean, a day off for them would be that they didn't have to do the lunch shift, so they had an afternoon off. They go for 6 months at a time. No day off, just constant work. And it's my opinion, if you can afford a vacation and you can go on a cruise, that you can pay, what is it, $12 a day per person? I mean,
it's really not that much. It only adds up if you add those additional gratuities, or you go to the bars a lot and you might get drunk and you might add like a huge amount. They usually have basic gratuities, which I 100% agree with you. If you can afford a trip,
totally.
you can be able to afford the $60 or
Right.
$70 for that. They really, really do. They earn it, I believe.
And when you buy Cheers, the 15% gratuity is added to the cost of your Cheers. And whether you choose to tip beyond that amount is up to you. But that's already taken care of. And, there's other situations where you should tip. And your room service guy, you're 4:00 in the morning, you left the disco, you need a turkey sandwich, give the guy a couple of bucks. Don't be cheap. I mean, I know I may have some haters by saying stuff like that, but I mean, come on. A couple of dollars, these people work really hard. What a little bit of money to you is a lot of money to them. So there's people out there that don't even tip when they go out to eat. I mean, that's just the way they do things, and you can't change that. But these people work really hard, and I really encourage everyone that goes on a cruise to just do the automatic gratuities. If you feel like you had a bartender that went above and beyond, give them an extra tip above your Cheers. Tip the room service guy. The porters at the cruise terminal, those guys work out in the heat. They're handling hundreds of pounds of luggage every day. I usually, the standard for those guys is like $1 a bag. You got 3 or 4 bags, it's less than $5. Just don't be cheap. That's all I got to say. Just don't be cheap. It's not becoming when we're cheap. So. So, moving on to the next subject. Now, I gotta take a drink for this one.
I know. I'm looking at it right here on the notes, and this is gonna be a doozy of a topic for complaints. I already can tell people are gonna be either one way or another way with this one. So what's the next one? What's the next one?
Kids.
Kids, children.
Yes. Either you love them or hate them. Either you have them and you love yours and you hate everybody else's, or however it goes. Most of us out there, we have children. You know, we've all dealt with the temper tantrum, or anybody that says that their child is a perfect little angel and has never caused an issue is a liar. I'm sorry. I mean, some kids are better than others, and I blame that on the parents. I blame that on the parents. You know, you gotta, but everybody has had a 3-year-old that has decided that they wanted something and you weren't going to give it to them, and they decided to throw a fit. We've all been there. So, kids, you want to watch a thread explode in CCPBF? Talk about kids in the hot tub, in the adult pool, running loose on the ship, taking them to the steakhouse, playing in the elevators, pushing all the buttons. Okay, this is the bottom line, people. Carnival is the most economical, kid-friendly, family-friendly cruise line that there is. Their cruises are the most expensive to go on, and they do that for a reason. Young families, young people, even if you're not necessarily young, if you're on a budget, whatever, the price jump between even just Carnival and Royal Caribbean, it's a lot, you know. So a lot of people take, you know, in order, say you got a family of 5, you got a mom and a dad and 3 kids. I mean, we're talking a lot of money to go on a family vacation. So anytime the kids are out of school, there are going to be a ton of them on the ship. All the summer months for summer vacation, spring break, Christmas break, Thanksgiving break. If you don't like children, if you don't want to be around children, don't book during the days that they are out of school. I mean, that's the best thing I can say. I don't understand why people complain about going on a cruise. There were all the kids in the pool and they were splashing me and blah, blah, blah. But don't go. I mean, there will be very few children if you go, you know, October, November, December, except for the holidays. February, March, April. Those kids are in school. You won't run into that. I mean, I myself, I have a child, you know, I understand, but I've given a stink eye to a few kids on a cruise, because I remember one specifically, I think it was the CCPPS 3rd annual or 2nd annual. There was this family. There were these kids. They had all these life jackets. These kids were dressing up like Transformers. They had life jackets on each arm, over their head, on each leg, and they were dive bombing the pool constantly. And they had these little squishy ball things that you throw and make the big splash.
That's when you go and splash them back.
This ball that they were throwing hit some lady in the face.
Oh,
and
no.
Also, and all of the salt water from the pool, like, dousing my cocktail. I looked at the dad and I said, either you need to stop this or you're going to be buying me my next $14 cocktail. And he was all, I can buy you a drink. It's not that big a deal. And of course I had 60 people with me. I'm like, you're going to buy all 60 of these people a $9 cocktail? I mean, they were letting their kids run crazy, jumping and splashing. Granted, we were on a summer. It was a summer cruise.
I'm disappointed with a lot of Carnival ships getting rid of the adult-only sections. I'm an adult. I can drink. I can pay taxes now. I deserve an adult-only area to be away from the kids, even though kids still try to sneak up there. I think that's a silly decision to do that, because there are some adult-only areas which are really nice, relaxing, where you want to be in the hot tub. You don't want to have to worry about kids splashing around or yelling or anything like that. I think it's silly that they're removing that. If you guys feel strongly one way or another with the adult areas going, you know, away, or in favor of them leaving, let us know in the comments below. We're really interested in that, because we all have a variety of opinions, and I want to hear kind of both sides.
It's a very small area dedicated to adults only. You have the Serenity deck. On some of the ships that I've been on, you have an adult-only aft pool, but I've noticed a lot of them are not doing that. I am looking forward to the CCPPF 4th annual group cruise on the Vista. We've almost completely taken over Deck 5 with the Havana cabins. And the Havana cabins 12 and over. That's the age limit for being able to book one of those cabins. So nobody in the Havana pool or the Havana area will be less than 12 years old. So I am looking forward to that. I have a child. I mean, I get it. I understand, but some of the stuff that these kids do, my son would be in big trouble. And I will, some of my friends know, there have been some shenanigans on a few cruises, and that boy paid the price, believe me, because, it's just how it is. Last subject on the notes is Elegant Night.
Elegant Night. Those tablecloths.
Ooh, Elegant Night. It's a big deal. Okay, so constantly in the group, questions. Is this okay for Elegant Night? Should I wear this? Can I wear that? Is that appropriate? The best answer I can give you to give you the, without a doubt, without an opinion, just the rules on what it is you're supposed to wear into the dining room. Go to www.carnival.com and search dress code, and it will tell you exactly what is expected of you for the dining room, the steakhouse, the dining room on casual evenings, whether, you have other choices other than elegant dining. But it's very simple and easy to understand. As long as what you're wearing fits into their category. I mean, have you seen anything in the dining room from tuxedos and evening gowns to, what you might wear to church, and here in Texas, let me just say the part of the problem and part of all of the opinions that come along with what to wear to the dining room have to do, unfortunately, with the fact that the rules are not equally enforced fleet-wide. So you have a Miami cruise, and say you have a Galveston, Texas cruise. Men in Texas consider starched jeans, a pair of cowboy boots, and a jacket formal wear. And if you cruise out of Texas and you have on this sort of outfit, you will not be turned away from the dining room. I guarantee it. Because then you'd have all these cowboys upset with you that they can't go get a steak for dinner. Yeah. So, but yet in Miami, you may have a cruise ship that would be, you can't wear jeans on formal night. So my suggestion to any new cruiser is to go to the website, see what Carnival says. If it's your first cruise, just do what they said. Khakis and a polo, a suit and a tie. Anything less than that would be considered not formal. But after you go on several cruises, you get the feel. I mean, like the ladies. I mean, it says no flip-flops. I have like 20 pairs of sparkly flip-flops. And you
can put them all in a travel-sized bag, I heard.
I can get every pair on the ship with me. But I mean, we're in Texas. Everybody wears flip-flops. I mean, granted, they're not the plastic 99-cent ones that you get from Walmart. But I mean, if it's your first cruise, just pack a nice dress. Pack a bare minimum, pack a pair of khakis and a polo shirt, and you'll be fine. Or dress it up as much as you want. It's one of the few times that you might be wearing, that's an opportunity to get a portrait with your family that you might not normally get because everybody's dressed up, everybody's ready. So Elegant Night is it's a big topic. Everybody, is this okay? Is that okay?
I personally love Elegant Night. It's one of my favorite nights. I love dressing up. It's great.
I love it too. I mean, I wouldn't wear a tank top to the steakhouse, but that's just me. I heard somebody was all about wearing a tank top. Oh, hey, give me my 5-star steakhouse.
Luggage was not at my room yet. It was not at my room yet. Thankfully, I went to my room, I grabbed it, and I came back in a 3-piece suit, and I looked the best one in there, even though we were pretty much one of 4 tables. That's fine. I felt very elegant.
They turned you away. They only had 4 tables. Like, well, no, you cannot come in here in your tank top. The steakhouse, we've mentioned this on a couple of shows. if you're going to have the steakhouse on the first night, you may want to put something nice in your carry-on because they are stricter. But if you go to the dining room on the first night, they tend to be a little more lenient because you may not have your luggage. But we have reservations for the steakhouse for a group who's 4. So it's the second night, Matt, and you'll have your luggage. So you need to go with us.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Sally. It's been great having you back on your segment.
I'm glad the internet hates me. I don't, it hates me. I don't, what am I doing wrong? Anyway, I'm glad
That's
Bert
a whole
got it
nother
fixed.
segment.
He's like tech king. He got it worked out.
So, plenty has been happening this week in news surrounding cruising. Let's go take a look. First up, there is a new contender in the upper luxury cruise market. The Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company, which operates 94 luxury hotels, announced that it is entering the cruise industry with a small ship operation catering to the luxury market. The Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection, which will launch in about 2019 cruise season, with its first ship coming up with a capacity for 298 passengers, and 2 additional ships are expected in 2021 and 2022 respectively. The brand is joining forces with maritime experts Douglas Prothero and Lars Claesen, former president of the AIDA, in collaboration with funds management by Oaktree Capital Management, LP. The Ritz-Carlton will provide luxury hospitality service under a long-term operating agreement. Have you ever wondered about how much money Carnival brings in? Well, Carnival Corporation announced a net income of $379 million for the second quarter of 2017, according to a statement by Carnival Corporation President Arnold Donald. He noted strong execution drove significant operational improvements, and it was reinforcing to see over 5% improvement in the cruise ticket prices, affirming our efforts to increase demand by building positive word of mouth through the delivery of exceptional guest experiences as well as our innovative marketing and public relations programs. Wow, I think the cruise industry is booming. It might be time to get some cruise shares, I think. Cruising original private island Great Stirrup Cay is emerging from a major makeover. The 268-acre beach getaway owned by Norwegian Cruise Lines has been spruced up over the past year with new and revamped food and drink venues, rebuilt cabanas, and expanded areas of powdery soft sand. A large number of additional lounge chairs have been brought in, and there's a new underwater sculpture garden for snorkelers. The company has spent more than $1 million on the new landscaping, and this should all last until the next hurricane season. Carnival Cruise Line has announced the appointment of their senior officers for its newest ship, the 133,500-ton Carnival Horizon, which is currently under construction at the Fincantieri shipyard in Italy. It is set to debut in spring of 2018. Captain Luigi De Angelis, a 22-year veteran of Carnival Cruise Line, De Angelis joined the company as a deck cadet aboard the Carnival Imagination in 1995 and was named the captain in 2010. De Angelis has been part of the startup team of 5 ships and most recently served as the masterminds of the newest ship, the Carnival Vista, during its inaugural season in Miami. Hotel director Perry B. Camarelli, now in his 13th year with Carnival, Camarelli joined the company as a hotel director after managing hotel and resort properties in his native Malta. Carnival Horizon will also operate 2 7-day Mediterranean cruises from Barcelona departing April 15th through and the 22nd of 2018, and a 10-day Mediterranean cruise departing April 29th of 2018, before repositioning to the U.S. with a 14-day transatlantic crossing from Barcelona to New York, and that's going to be May 9th through the 23rd of 2018. The cruise director, who is the passenger side face of the ship, will be Mike Pack, who has been with Carnival for over 6 years. Okay, so this show and all of its wonderful abilities that we have to bring in guests remotely would not be possible at the level we do without vMix. vMix is our live production software that powers our live show and many other high-end productions. From church services to football games, more and more live productions run on vMix. Our producer Bird really liked when he was trying to improve our show was that they give you a full 60-day trial of everything. The way you can test it out risk-free before you buy for 2 full months. Then they have systems starting from just $350. If you're going to do any sort of live streaming, you need vMix. Try it today at vmix.com. If you want to show your support of Cruiseweek TV, our merch store is now open. You can get cups, shirts, hats, and more. Just head over to cruiseweek.tv/merch to check out our offerings. Next week, we are going to talk about St. Martin and San Juan, two of the ports that Bird will be visiting on his Oasis trip in August. We have one of the Cruise Critics founders as our guest, and to share her knowledge of these ports and answer your question, Audrey Dunn will be joining us on next week's show. If you like our show, you may want to consider joining the Cruise Week Inner Circle. You can find out more by going to cruiseweek.tv/support, and with your support, it brings us great videos and guests each week and helps us raise money to bring 5 new cruisers on the trip of a lifetime. So head over to cruiseweek.tv/support to see all that we're offering over there. I also want to thank Kathy from our RC Periscopers group for helping us out in our Periscope chat room and keeping order over there. If you want to see a lot of live streams from people over ships, head over to the RC Periscopers group on Facebook for a list. Also, don't forget my co-host Shelly. She runs the super popular CCPPF Facebook group, which stands for Carnival Cruisers Past, Present, and Future, a very lively group where you can get your questions answered and make tons of new friends. Joe and Matt Hotchberg are back next week with more Royal Caribbean news and topics of helping you with your questions. So be sure to catch up next week. Plus, I go live every Wednesday night right here for our informal Q&A where we talk about anything and everything and all get to know each other a little bit better. And if you know someone who will enjoy watching the show as much as you do, be nice and share the link to their Facebook so we can all enjoy it together. Well, guys, that's pretty much the show. We had a lot of stuff going on. Make sure to like, share. Make sure to go to the streamingawards.com/vote and vote for us. Give us a 3. Plus, you'll be entered into the drawing. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the ships.